Okay, welcome to Packard Shutter. This is a video about how to install the number 6 pin and how it works with the system, because I've had some questions about that. What I have here is a couple of 2-inch shutters, and they have slight differences, and I'll show you those and what's up with what. Then I've got my old Gunlock 5x7 camera. It's not functional, but it works for this purpose, our purposes. I got the lens board from the Gunlock. It goes in there. There's the lens board. So I've got these two shutters. These are 2-inch shutters. I threw this one together just today. It's not great. It's got some rust on it. It's not painted. It has issues, but it works for our purposes, and I needed one that I could use to show you. This shutter is the one that came out of the Gunlock. It's internally it's dated August 10th of 1950. So this shutter is very close to 69 years old. It's about 68 and a half years old. Still works just fine. It's in great condition. This is the old style flash synchronization when they used to build their own switch. You know, you can see here, there's some nuts and plastic pieces and insulators and stuff. It was really kind of an involved process they did. But anyways, we're not worried about that. The big difference between these two shutters, they're both number 6. They're both 2-inch. This one only has one rivet because the holes didn't line up and I didn't want to deal with it. But the big difference here is this is an old style, and you can see the number 6 boss does not have a hole in it. I think you can tell that from this. It's solid. That's how they used to do it, and as far as I can tell, I think they stopped doing it that way maybe in the 70s, maybe later than that. Don't have a real good handle on it, but they stopped doing them that way. And the way we do them now is the boss has a hole all the way through, and you might actually even be able to see through that one. And the reason for that is because it makes it much easier to mount the shutter and align the number 6 pin. This is your number 6 pin that's uncut. As you can see, with this one, the number 6 pin can go all the way through, long ways through. On this one, the number 6 pin goes in and stops. It can only go in that far. So what that means is when you're mounting this one, what you have to do, if you have one of these old style ones, and if you want me to refit it, you could send it to me and I can refit it with a new boss, but it's not really worth doing. I don't do it for free. Anyways, if you're doing one with these old boss, what you have to do is take a piece of paper and make a pattern that shows where the mounting holes are and where the number 6 pin holes are, and you use that to transfer those locations to your lens board and determine where your number 6 pin is going to go, and hope that everything lines up when you put it back together. So it's not a perfect situation. With this one, what you can do is you can actually mount the shutter directly on the lens board before you've installed the number 6 pin. This has the old mythical, this is the only one that exists, pass-through fitting that is designed to go through the corner of the shutter. As you can see, these both have a large hole in this corner, whereas all the other mounting holes are small. That is designed so that the shutter, as you can see, this shutter is pretty much the same size as the lens board. So what that does is allows you to have a pass-through fitting that passes through the corner of the shutter and gets an air signal in. And then there would be a tube that runs from here around to the piston, and then the front of the lens board has an air fitting on it, and you can attach your bulb to that. I'm not going to use any of that today, but that's what it was designed for. So anyways, to assemble this would go on here. And so to put your number 6 pin in, what you do now is you take 3 of these mounting screws and your pass-through, or in most cases it'll be 4 mounting screws. And this luckily has the holes pre-drilled, or preset, because it's already been mounted. But we just snug this down with the mounting screws, and the shutter doesn't have to be cranked down really tight. As long as these are snug and holding the shutter in place, that's really all you need. You don't need to crank it down so that it's, you know, really tight. That's all the way around, and that's on good. So now what we're going to do, in order to locate where the number 6 pin, now of course this is an old one so it's already got all the holes in it, but what you would do to mount and locate your number 6 pin is, now that you've got the shutter mounted, keep the shutter closed so it's away from the thing, but this boss, take about a 60 thousandths drill. It's got to be small enough to go through that hole without drilling the hole out, but you can take a drill and get a little pilot spot. And if you're really good at it, I mean, if it's thin wood and you got a drill, you can use a pin vise and a drill like this, drill it by hand. But you can just mark it and then take the shutter off and drill your hole. Then you've got a hole coming through the front, and what you do is you take your number 6 pin, put it through the hole in the front, and then you can screw the number 6 pin down and have it located. Then the other thing that this allows you to do better is your number 6 pin only strokes so far, in and out, in and out, in and out. What you can do then is you push it in all the way, and you can take some side cutters or a file or something and mark the pin. You know, you can, like, okay, I just spun it a little bit, but you can mark the pin, and then when you pull it out, you can find that mark, and that's where you want to cut the pin off. And so you'd cut the pin there, put a little tiny, just sand the edge smooth so it'll, go through again, and then you can put your pin in, and it doesn't extend past the back of the shutter, and it should be sized. You're at a safe length right there, so that when you pull it, it should clear the shutter and move it into number 5 mode. If not, you shave off a little bit, and you do that until it works. But you want to make sure that when you push it in, it fully engages number 6 mode, the instantaneous mode. So anyways, I've got this shutter, or this is the original number 6 pin that's already trimmed, and I can put it in, and I can mount it then with the 2 little mounting screws. These are smaller than the others. Generally I put 3 of them in the package with the number 6 pin, because they're little screws and it's easy to lose them. So I put an extra one in so that if you drop one and it goes rolling across the floor and you can't find it, I really need to use a screwdriver instead. There's an extra screw in there. If you end up not needing the screw, throw it in your screw drawer or wherever and save it for some other time. But I just throw it in so that it's a little extra screw just in case you need it. So now I've got the number 6 pin installed, and if I have the pin pulled out, I'm going to put the tube on the piston. I'm not going to use the pass-through fitting in this because I don't really need to. This shutter works best in its vertical position. It's pushed in, which is number 6 mode. I'm going to pull it out. That's number 5 mode. And the shutter opens, closes. You can kind of see that. I don't want to turn it all the way over. It might not work, but open, close, open, close, open, close. That's number 5. So what you would do is you would open the shutter, take your thumb off, and you can relax it, and the shutter stays open so you can focus and compose and do all your stuff. And then when you're ready to shoot, you can squeeze the bulb, put your thumb over, close it. Now the shutter's closed. You can put your film holder in, remove the dark slide, and you're all ready to take your picture. You can, if you want an instantaneous mode, then you push the pin in, and you don't want to put your finger on the piston. I've done that like 5 times today because I hold the thing wrong. So let's put this back, put the pin in. Okay, it's in number 6 mode, and I'm not holding the piston this time. And that, as I mentioned multiple times in other videos, it doesn't look like it opened all the way, but it did. That's just an artifact of the video, that it doesn't quite look like it opens all the way. So that's number 6 mode. You can make an instantaneous picture, and then for your next shot and you're ready to focus, you can open it up, close it, and that's all there is to it. So you can trim it. You put the pin in to mark it, to trim it. In the event, like this one's not going through quite, this one looks like it's going about halfway through the boss. So you may need to trim a little bit more off the end of your number 6 pin, but that's why we give it to you long, because we don't know where you know, how thick your lens board is. This is 2 pieces of wood. Some of them are only 1. Some of them might be 1 inch thick. It's hard to say, so we've got a long enough pin that you can, you know, adjust it to where you need. But mostly that's the number 6 pin installation and mounting. This whole thing would go into the camera, and this one's a really tight fit on the bottom to get it in, but there it snaps in, and you can see that that's in. There's your number 6 pin. There's your air fitting connection. All set. Anyhow, that's how you install and size a number 6 pin. If you have any questions, feel free to you know, make a comment on the video or email me about it, and I will be happy to answer your question. And if I need to make a new video to clarify things, I can do that as well. I would appreciate any comments and questions, and if you need a Packard shutter, feel free to get a hold of me and I will be happy to build you one. There's contact information at the end of the video, and I think that's about it. Thank you very much for your time. This is John from Packard-Ideal Shutter Company.